Mark chapter 7. Then the Pharisees and some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus. Now when they saw some of his disciples eating bread with defiled, that is, unwashed, hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Jews don't eat unless they wash their hands and forearms, holding to the tradition of the elders. And on returning from the market, they do not eat unless they wash. And there are many other traditions for them to observe, including the washing of cups, pitchers, kettles, and couches for dining. The Pharisees and the scribes asked him, "Why don't your disciples walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat their bread with unwashed hands?" Jesus answered them, "Isaiah prophesied correctly about you hypocrites, as it is written, 'These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. They teach as doctrine the precepts of men.' For you set aside the commandment of God and hold tightly to the tradition of men, the washing of pitchers and cups, and you do many other such things." He went on to say, "You neatly set aside the command of God to maintain your own tradition. For Moses said, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and he who speaks evil of father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, 'If a man tells his father or mother, whatever profit you might have received from me is Corban, that is to say, given to God, then you no longer allow him to do anything for his father or his mother, making void the word of God by your tradition, which you have handed down. You do many things like this." Once again, Jesus called the crowd to him and said, "All of you, listen to me and understand. Nothing that enters a man from the outside can defile him, but the things that come out of a man, these are what defile him. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear." When he had entered into a house, away from the multitude, his disciples asked him about the parable. He said to them, "Are you also without understanding? Don't you perceive that whatever goes into the man from outside can't defile him? Because it doesn't go into his heart, but into his stomach, then into the latrine. Thus all foods are clean." He continued, "What comes out of a man, that is what defiles him. For from within, out of the hearts of men proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, sexual sins, murders, thefts, covetings, wickedness, deceit, lustful desires, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, and foolishness. All these things come from within and defile the man." From there he arose and went away into the borders of Tyre and Sidon. He entered into a house and didn't want anyone to know it, but he couldn't escape notice. Instead, a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit soon heard about Jesus, and she came and fell at his feet. Now, she was a Greek woman of Syrophoenician origin, and she kept asking Jesus to cast the demon out of her daughter. But Jesus said to her, "Let the children be filled first, for it is not appropriate to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." But she answered him, "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Then Jesus told her, "Because of this answer, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." And she went home and found her child lying on the bed, and the demon was gone. Again, he departed from the borders of Tyre and Sidon, and came to the Sea of Galilee, through the middle of the region of Decapolis. They brought to him one who was deaf and had an impediment in his speech. They begged him to lay his hand on him. He took him aside from the multitude privately and put his fingers into his ears, and he spat and touched his tongue. Looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to him, Ephatha, that is, be opened. Immediately, his ears were opened, and the impediment of his tongue was released, and he spoke clearly. Jesus ordered them not to tell anyone, but the more he ordered them, the more widely they proclaimed it. They were astonished beyond measure, saying, "He has done all things well. He makes even the deaf hear and the mute speak."